Hey guys, it is Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Melissa Ellen and I do true crime history. My intention on this channel is to try and help raise awareness for missing persons and unsolved cases. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a current missing case of two little boys who disappeared on December 21st, 2020 out of California City, California. Orrin and Orson West were reported missing that day. Now, there is a lot of media coverage that is happening on this case. It really is getting the coverage that it deserves. And there are a lot of people that are keeping up with the ins and outs and the rumors and the theories. And my thought was, what can I possibly do to help in this case? As it is local to me, yes, I'm here in Bakersfield, California, and the case is being handled by the Bakersfield Police Department. So what can I do? And I feel that I should do something. Here's the deal. We have to track back where these boys have been. And we as a community, we can look through our video footage. We can look through our camera rolls. We can look through outings and places that we've been to try to track back the locations of these boys. I'm going to go through the timeline really quickly of what happened. And then I'll just explain to you why I feel that that's really all we have left that we could try to do to help these little boys. But in case I'm wrong, in case most of us are completely wrong, then we want to be sharing the only photos that we have of these little boys, okay? So if there is a chance in the world that they are out there, we need to get their photo out. And since I am in Bakersfield, if there's any chance that it might push my video more geographically in the area, I couldn't not do a video and take the chance that there's any way that we could help. So I'm sorry if you guys have already seen a lot of coverage, but you know how we feel about these cases. It doesn't matter. It always takes one chance and one moment that could be the lead that helps. So if you have any information on the West boys, I will make sure that all the information for the Bakersfield Police Department is listed for you. So let's go and jump right into the video. Okay, before we jump into the video, we have a sponsor. Yes, that's right. We actually have a sponsor. You guys, I have a lot of things that have been happening and I have a lot of sponsors actually that have been reaching out to work with us and I truly appreciate that. And so I had to say thank you to our first original sponsor on this channel that we ever had, and that was Hunt a Killer. So when they reached out and said they wanted to work together again, absolutely. I truly love them. I appreciate them. I think what they do is absolutely amazing, and quarantine was the perfect time to work and play on their little murder mystery. So it is a subscription box, and what you get is each case takes 6 months to solve, or you can pre-buy it, okay? So you're gonna get 6 boxes, 6 different boxes like this that come with clues inside of them that will help you solve. You can do this online, you can do it through the Facebook group, you can do it with your friends, you can do it at home, you can do it alone, you can do it on phone. There are so many different ways that you could play and make this work for you, but the ultimate goal is to solve a murder mystery. And I really like that it doesn't just come with, okay. So you're gonna get like this envelope and it's gonna have all this stuff in it. Little trinkets and little clues and clippings out of newspapers and photos. I'm trying not to give you too much away in case you haven't seen this one yet. Is that me, like when I get older? Just kidding, I don't do crime. I just report it. But it also comes with little trinkets and little collectible items. So you've got a little pen, you've got a cufflink, so you're gonna figure out what that means. You've got a key. So this all came in one box along with tons of other things that came with it. And then you're going to have some things that you can use for digital. So that is the murder mystery box. And what we have to offer is that if you use my code below, then you actually get 20% off your first box. So that is just a thank you to all of our subscribers. So I will make sure I put that down below for you. So yes, check out Hunt a Killer. I 100% recommend it. They were our first sponsor on this channel. They want to work with us again. And we truly appreciate what they've done for the true crime world. And a percentage of all of their profits does go to the Cold Case Foundation. We love a good donation. So thank you guys so much again for this, and let's go ahead and look right into the video. So let's talk about this case and why the salaciousness of it. I always talk about this, that salaciousness and the more drama and the more goodies there is that is happening on a case, the more coverage that it gets. And unfortunately, we need that. We need it because people need to be aware that there's a missing child or missing children. In this case, there are. And we often know that with children of color, they do not get the coverage that they deserve in order to be found. And thankfully, in this case, we are getting that media coverage to get the West boys seen. Now, the reason this case kind of got immediately into attention is that these are boys that have been adopted. There was a lot of question in the very beginning of whether or not the children were under foster care or whether or not they had actually been adopted. Now, their biological mother is Ryan Dean. There is a lot of question about how the children went from being in her care to being in the foster care system. At the end of the day, it's none of our business. It does not appear that there was any extreme, okay? There might have been some issues and it might not have been the best situation, but nothing has come about that was like horrendous, okay? So we're gonna leave it at that. It's none of our business what happened prior to the children going missing in regards to their biological mother. So she has come forward and she has given a statement and she has pleaded to the media, begging. And in her talks, it has left a little confusion on how aware she is with understanding the foster care system and the adoption process and where her rights are left at that point. She seemed to present that she still had a lot of hope that she could be reunited with them. The truth of the matter is, however it happened, and there have been so many rumors and gossip, I'm not really sure if there was anything wrong. However fast it might have happened, how unaware the biological family may have been, because normally I would feel that if a child was being removed to the point that their parents' rights were being terminated, I thought that the family would always be a consideration and looked at, and it just didn't seem that that happened because it appeared that the biological family was absolutely of means and ability to take care of these children. Okay, so we leave it at that because whatever happened, happened, and we do know that the boys entered the foster care system in 2018. It does appear that the boys had been fostered by someone else, but eventually in 2018, they end up in the home of Jacqueline and Trezell West. Now, Jacqueline and Trezell West already have 2 biological children. As well, they have 2 other children that it is believed have also already been adopted, are not foster children, but are actually adopted children. Now, when the boys came to Jacqueline and Trezell, their names were Classic and Sincere. Once the children were in foster care with them in 2019, they actually adopted them. So I think the timeline is that they went into their home September of 2018 and then they were adopted April of 2019. My months might be off on either one of those, but it doesn't seem to have been a very long process. And Jacqueline and Trezell West were deemed their adopted parents. And if you're not very familiar with this, I need you to understand that once you are the adopted parent, you are the equivalent of the biological parent. You are the parent. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. If the parents divorce, there's still absolute custody. Like they are your biological children that did not come from you biologically once they are adopted. And to this example, Jacqueline Trezell changed the names that Classic and Sincere were born with and changed their names to Orrin and Orson West. As Trezell said in an interview, they are our children. We named them. They are our children. So now Orrin and Orson are living in the home with 2 other biological children and 2 other foster or adopted children. Meaning, yes, there were 6 boys in this home. It is not 100% confirmed, but from what I gather, it appears the ages of the children ran from 3 to 10, or maybe a little younger, with Orrin and Orson being 3 and 4 years old. Now, I would love to tell you a lot of amazing things about these little boys. This is one of these things that really helps get people involved when they hear about the child and what kind of person they were and, little stories and videos and pictures about them. And then that's when people really get attached. This was one of the first signs that people were really worried about, is that this is it. We have these photos of Orrin and Orson. Now, according to Jacqueline, during an interview, she stated that she had older photos of them in her home, but she did not have any newer photos of the children. They were on her phone, which had been turned over to police. The question is, just so we're clear, the phones have been returned to them, I believe. That is what is being reported, and we still have not seen any updated photos. Red flags, okay? There's a lot of things that are going to come about that just make you wonder why, but you're going to keep hearing, you're just going to wonder why. Why in the world would they harm these children? It makes no sense. But as you go through and you just keep hearing these things that are circumstantial that just make you go, that doesn't make sense. So first red flag is that there's no photos that have been released of these children to help identify them. If you believe your child is missing, don't you want to get a bunch of photos out of them? Maybe some videos so you can see some characteristics, especially when they're young children, and especially when your child doesn't have a distinguishing mark on them, a birthmark or a certain haircut or eye color that are different, or you need to get out as many photos of them with as many facial expressions so that they could be recognized. So I find that just very concerning to this point that we still don't have more photos of the boys. And we also don't have more info on the boys. We don't know what kind of children they were. The only thing that was cited in an interview from Trezell was that they were playful and rambunctious. They like to wrestle, and they were, if you around them, they're going to be rambunctious, I believe was exactly what he said. So that's all we know about these two little boys. Now, I also don't have a lot of confirmed information about Jacqueline and Trezell. What I do know is that they were approved foster parents and they were approved adoptive parents twice in a row. There are gossipy rumors that I cannot confirm in any way, shape, or form, that they might know people, that maybe people who in the system weren't really looking at them very closely because they do seem to be a put together family and there were no red flags, so they weren't really qualified, but nobody really noticed. So, but it's just a lot of gossip. There's no way to know if that is true at all. So the family is originally from Bakersfield, California. That's where they had been living. And then in September of 2020, they bought a home in Cal City, or California City. And that's about an hour's drive from Bakersfield. It's a very, very small town. It's got to be around 10 to 15,000 for a population. Very small town. They moved into a little suburb home. They bought a house out there and everything seemed fine. Now, there are some things about whether or not the children were really ever seen outside of the house. And it appears that people may have seen children, may not have seen children, but never really verified age. Nobody counted them. They didn't know anyone. They had only been living there for a couple of months. And 6 children, though. I know when we had that many kids living in our home that every time we moved into a neighborhood, we were immediately knew every single neighbor. However, they did say it was COVID. So in September, would you really just have your kids outside meeting new people? I'm not really sure either. So that one kind of was a little messy and a little hard to work with. There was also neighbors that had cameras that tried to review, and it just didn't seem that anyone ever really had a sighting of Orrin and Orson at any time, but that there were sightings of children. Okay, so it just kind of leaves it kind of murky and muddy, and I'm sure police have further verification on that at this point, but it's kind of left open. Everyone really wonders, when was the last time Orrin and Orson was really seen? Now, we're going to fast forward and we're going to go to December 19th of 2020. On this day, the family takes a trip and they go to Bakersfield. So they drive back from their new home in Cal City and they drive to Bakersfield. They're going to do some Christmas shopping, and then the 4 older children are going to stay for a couple days with their grandmother in Bakersfield. And this is going to be Trezell's mother's home. So it is said in the interview with Trezell that the reason the 2 little ones did not stay is because they were the little ones. They were 3 and 4, and they were just too young to be left for that many days with the grandparents. Again, could have made total sense. The question, though, is that there is a neighbor who released some video footage. I'm not going to insert any of it. I just didn't have time to figure out what's going on, but it does seem that it might be copyrighted, and which is your right to do so, or maybe it's been turned over to police, and that's why it's not being shared anymore. I'm not really sure, but I'll link what I have below for you to watch of the video, but I did watch it originally. The videos are just hard. It makes it look like 2 adults and 4 children load into their van to leave for Bakersfield. But it should have been 2 adults and 6 children. And then later on, the van arrives back and it appears that only 2 adults get out and not 2 adults and 2 children. However, that video is so hard. It is so pixelated, so grainy. It's recorded off somebody's phone. It is very, very, very difficult. You would not take a video like that to trial in any way, shape, or form. It reminds me of the Gannon Stout case, which we did last year. You know, it's still so weird because when you watch the video footage of Letitia returning in the truck, you do not see Gannon get out of the truck. Like, you just don't see him get out of the truck. But police have enough information that proves that he was there and he did get out of the truck. We just can't see him on camera somehow. And so this is one of those situations where there are so many answers. If those little ones are just short enough that they're just under the fence and under the door and we can't see them, if they're holding them when they're getting in, and so many questions, okay? So what we know is that supposedly, that the grandmother and the children have said that they last saw Orrin and Orson on December 19th. So we're just going to go with that because we have no other way to prove whether or not that happened. Is that we know that the children leave and we just don't. We just have no other way. So we're going to say that the boys come back to the house and we don't see them go in. So they do whatever they're doing for the next couple of days, and then it is now December 21st. It is in the evening, and it is around 4 p.m. According to Jacqueline and Trezell, they are hanging out with the kids, and Jacqueline wants to wrap some of the presents that they had bought. And she's in the house, and she's going to wrap them, so she wants to send the kids outside so that they don't see what she's wrapping. And according to Trezell, he's in the backyard because he's loading wood. He's picking up wood from the side yard to bring it in to start a fire. And supposedly the children are going to just play on the back patio and play with chalk. I just want to say this, first of all, it just always cracks me up. Based on the comments that people live, I really expect to see a lot better children running around. Like, the way that parents act, like, I would never do that. I would never do that. Nope. Oh my God. Like, it's just, are you serious? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just a little more realistic, but there were people that were like, I would never let my child play with chalk on the ground. But kids play with chalk on the ground all the time. They literally sell it. It's called sidewalk chalk. Like, it's literally what we started doing during quarantine to say hi to our neighbors. Like it's my kids went outside and played with sidewalk chalk all the time. And then other people were like, you know, why would you send your child outside to wrap presents? Why wouldn't you just go in the other room? Well, because sometimes kids go outside. Like, you can just send them outside. Just so we're clear, I am not believing their story. I'm not rooting for them. I don't believe them at all. But it's just like, can people chill out a little bit? Y'all are not perfect parents. No way. So it was just like weird. Like, but it was 55 degrees. How could you dare have your children outside? Because some people live in areas where it's often that cold and they put on sweatshirts and, like, you know what I mean? They just, like, kids do stuff. They're not like, okay. I don't think that I don't believe any of this. Number one, it doesn't appear that anyone has seen any signs of chalk on the back porch. 3 and 4-year-olds with chalk, unless because some kids are really meticulous, like they'll stay in one little corner, but for the most part, they're taking that chalk and they're rubbing it everywhere and then rubbing their hands in it and then rubbing it on themselves. So that is one issue, is that there was no proof of the sidewalk chalk and we didn't see anything of it, and we haven't heard anything from police to say that there was. Number two, it was really awkward that they were on the sidewalk area, but then there's a big grass area, and then there's a area where the dad is over getting wood, which is further outside a gate. So it just doesn't seem that he's making a good choice to not watch them, because they could have gotten anywhere. There's a little shed, there's like, the grass isn't grass, it's all dirt. So I was kind of like, that's when you're like, why aren't you watching them? Now your story doesn't make any sense. But I'm like, okay, the mom's inside wrapping presents, there's a sliding glass door. But then there are some photos that make it appear that you wouldn't be able to see out the back door. So yeah, your story's starting to sound like you're really just trying to make it seem like there's this window of opportunity. Which, I mean, maybe there is. Just a weird window of opportunity. So he says he's loading wood in he's picking it up from like the side yard, and then he's bringing it, throwing it over the fence, and then he's carrying it into the house. He says that as he's walking into the house, he sees the boys, he gets inside, he sets the wood down, he comes back out, and the boys are no longer outside. And then he comes back in and he asks Jacqueline, hey, did the boys come in? And she's like, no, they should be outside. Again, confirming that she can't see them either. And that's when he realizes, oh no, I've left the gate open. And he goes out in the back and goes out through the gate to see if he can find them. There's just a lot of questions about this. 3 and 4-year-olds, my first thought was, did they wander off? Which if they wandered off, you left them out for a very long time for them to wander off. They don't just go all the way across that like dirt, out that fence, out. This isn't like it was a nice soft grassy area that they could be walking. It's getting dark, it's cold. It's not tempting for 3 and 4-year-olds to go that way, in my opinion, by the way, just from having kids and grandkids. Like they don't typically want to head to the like dark, murky area unless they know that there's like some treat over there. And even further, if they had just went out the gate, he could have immediately got out there and find them. So he says he goes back in the house, they look around, he comes back out, he looks around, he then jumps in his van and drives around his neighborhood. I find it interesting, he only goes one direction and then comes back. He's back within 6 minutes. According to some recreations and what people assume, it appears that he only goes around 1 block instead of all the blocks, when the other blocks seem to have a lot more dirt, fields area. I would have went there, like maybe they're walking across this field or something. And then he comes back and they immediately call the police. Now, again, there is surveillance video that is extremely grainy, extremely hard to work with, and I'm not going to show it myself. I will link it below. And it's not for sure. You cannot at any time clearly make out anything other than one person is walking around that backyard and front yard. That's about all you can really make out. And then that one person gets into the van, drives the van around, and then brings the van back. Like, you can't clearly see if the children were ever in the backyard. You also can't say for sure they weren't. And this is going to be on police when they actually they have the real video, not the one that was uploaded from a cell phone. Like, they have it and maybe they can figure this out further. But the video that I saw, you could tell me either way. And, some people feel very strongly. They're like, oh no, it is without a doubt. There is no 2 kids there. But then there's other people that are like, maybe is that 2 kids walking with someone else? Like, it kind of makes you, but that's the thing. It's just not a good video. It's just not that helpful at this point, other than it does show that Trezell's in the backyard and then in the front, in the house, and then he goes out, drives around, and then comes back, and that seems to coordinate with them phoning the police, and then he goes and stands by the tree. Now, this video is very far away, and I don't see that we see anywhere that Jacqueline's in there, and that's so incredibly worrying to me. I kept just like waiting to see her out in the street, because I don't know any mom, in my opinion, that doesn't run out the front door when their child is missing. Like, run out the front door without even like thinking. That's just what you do. You don't even put your shoes on. You just go out the front door. So that was just, that left me so uncomfortable. But again, I will say that the video isn't easy to see, and it isn't for sure to make out. And if somebody were to tell me later, like, no, see right there, that's her, then I could be like, oh, okay, I couldn't tell. So I do want to leave that out there that, their story might have been a little more believable, because she could have been looking and we just can't tell from the video. So they do phone police, and then we know that Trezell stands in the front yard for 13 minutes waiting for police to arrive. Just stands in the front yard. There's no them walking up and down the street. Like,
I've had this happen in my life where a little kid in our neighborhood had wandered off. They were just in another kid's backyard. But I literally saw what everyone was doing, and it was without even thinking. Everybody was out in the road. Everyone was out on the road waiting for police. That's what you do. And then once one person was out on the road, then the other neighbor came out to see what's going on. And then the other neighbors came out to see what's going on. And then the police knew right where to go. So I found that just so unnatural. That being said, a lot of things that people do can be completely unnatural. We all react differently. So I will say at this point, we have nothing to prove anything. So who knows what could have happened at this point. Cal City Police Department does arrive on scene, and they do a complete search of the area. To give you the quick times really quick, he was seen picking up wood from 4:12 to 4:18 p.m. And then at 4:18, he leaves the gate. We don't see anything, but Trezell does walk away, and we don't see any other person that I can see when I watched the video, and these were my notes that I took. At 4:21, we do see the back porch light turn on. There is a chunk of time that was missing, and so we can't see if he's running around or looking. At 4:32, he does climb into the passenger side of the van, and he drove off to search, and he returned after 6 minutes, and that was at 4:39, and then he waits for the 13 minutes for the police to arrive. So police did end up doing a search. They have said they have looked through every single nook and cranny of that home, and the boys are not there. They did search, they did do underground searches, they did dig up holes in the backyard, and they found absolutely no evidence of the boys. There was an issue of the dogs that were brought out. They did not get any scent of the boys outside of the home. Now, the chief was very clear to say that this can be, honestly, wind, okay? Outside isn't always an indicator. It's just not. They said that just doesn't mean anything to them one way or another. Now, the dogs did pick up the scent of the boys inside of the home. Now, a lot of people have a quick question on this. Could that just be because their stuff is in the home? And is there a possibility that those boys were never even in that home in Cal City and that they really disappeared back when they were in Bakersfield? And so is there an indicator that the boys had been in the home since the dogs did hit? I'm not sure. And I can't even find that exact answer. It kind of seems to go both ways. But again, it seems to be that is not a true indicator either. Now, it did take several days, but Trezell and Jacqueline did eventually do their one and only interview with the media. Again, absolutely disappointing. I have no problem understanding that press conference might not have gone so well and that they might want to control the environment of their next interview. Because when they did do the interview, the biological family of the boys was there, and they are upset, rightfully so. These were children they loved. I don't think the family understood that they weren't going to ever see them again because they had been adopted. I'm not sure what the dynamics were there, but they're upset. You know, when you foster and adopt a child, they expect that you're going to take care of that child. And when you feel like somebody might have purposely harmed your family, they're upset. And so when Jacqueline and Trezell are being interviewed, they are within feet of this family that is extremely upset with them. And so the interview is hard to judge for sure, because there are clearly some indicators in the interview that are very reminiscent of interviews we've seen with other guilty people. During the interview, Trezell is very much swaying. Okay, it takes everyone right back to Chris Watts. If he heard that reference over and over, it's exactly what I thought. There is swaying that is happening from Jacqueline, and her eyes are darting, and they seem so uncomfortable. And the way that they're trying to answer the questions, but it also feels like they're just trying to reassure the family. And that can be because they're guilty. In my opinion, that they're just trying to get the biological family off their case, or it could be the fact that they really have no idea what happened. It just makes me incredibly uncomfortable that was 3 months. 3 months. If your babies, as you call them, your babies, your children that you love so much, can we please get your assistance in helping find them? If you really, really did not harm them, then somebody took them and you need to help us find them for you. I mean, that's what people do when their children are missing. And there is a world of people that are willing to help find your children, and releasing photos of them is not going to cause you more harm. If this family is completely innocent, then I could understand how hard it would be. Their home has since been targeted. The windows have been broken. It's been vandalized. People have trespassed into the West home over and over and over again and have caused them to have to leave the home and come back to Bakersfield. This is not to feel sorry for them. This is to say to them, your actions are worrying. If you are being falsely accused, you should speak up. You should absolutely be doing things that will lessen the attacks on you and help to find your boys, because that is what matters more than anything. And so if they really are missing and you don't know, release more information about them, photos, videos, so they can be recognized. That is what is needed. Where did you go on the 19th? What kind of places had you been? Where could the boys have been spotted? Was there anyone in your neighborhood? These are all things that would not cause the parents to be attacked further. It would help make them look less guilty and actually help find them. So it worries me that they haven't done that. And in fact, there have been no statements from Jacqueline's family at all. Trezell's family, the West grandmother that was watching the other 4 children, she's been recorded by some online streamers. I'm not sure, other YouTubers. I wasn't really sure who was recording, but they have recorded her being very upset, very agitated. And I guess maybe she's just upset because she feels that if she 100% has no idea what's going on, then maybe she's just being defensive of her child. But again, grandma, if your grandbabies are missing, okay? Your son adopted them. Those are your grandbabies. Grandma, you should have some pictures of them. So make some flyers, some posters, help get videos of them out. Because that's what, I'm a grandma. I live in Bakersfield too, okay? Like, from grandma to grandma, please share some photos and videos of them. If you really think that Jacqueline and Trezell did not do anything to these boys, please release some photos and videos of them so that we can help spot them somewhere. That is really what we can do. I can imagine how frustrating it would be to have people knocking on your door and in your home or in your backyard filming you if you 100% had nothing to do with it. I could see it being frustrating. I could see you being frustrated if you 100% believe that your child is innocent and they did not do anything to these boys. Then you know more than we do, and please help with that. Help with that. Did you really see the boys? Did you? Because you've got to talk the police into letting you release that, okay? Did you see the boys? Clear that information up. Do you have more photos and videos of them? Just something else to help us look for them. Police have conducted a search at that home. It did appear that maybe Trezell and Jacqueline were staying there. It seems they're in hiding. Nobody's really clear on what's going on with them. So let's just talk about this. Here's what we have, okay? We have 2 little boys who disappeared. And what we have is a story about their disappearance that 100% does not make sense, okay? So if the story of their disappearance 100% that does not make sense, then we know for sure that it's the 2 of them know what happened, okay? There's no way that Jacqueline could have done something and Trezell has no idea, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it can't be one or the other. Like, one parent couldn't have done something and then hid it from the other parent because they were both at home. They were both with the children. Like, they both admit to interacting right there at the same time. So they both know what happened. And neither one of their actions since match anything that we're familiar with how a grieving parent normally reacts when their child is missing. One of the most telling things that I think a lot of people are seeing is that the most action that has come from the family is the biological family. They are the ones that are raising money, that are helping to get billboards up, that are really trying to bring people together to find these boys. There are hashtags everywhere. There are groups all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I've seen them on TikTok. There are people dedicating to find these boys. The billboards I'm seeing in my own area that people are going out of their own way to pay for. So there is a lot of love and a lot of care to help find these boys. And it's really coming out of care and love from the biological family. They really never gave up on them and really wanted. And that's why it's just hard for me, you know. Orrin, Orson, classic, sincere, their names were changed. Did they have a good life? Were they being treated okay? And was this just something happened? Did somebody really just take a chance and grab them somehow, luring two boys away from their own, just two rambunctious 3 and 4 year old boys? It's such a 1 in a million chance that happened. You know, is there a chance in the world that somehow the boys wandered off and somehow got somewhere that nobody found them, or they got picked up by someone else? It is just such if their story made sense, then all right, things happen, and we could really look for them, which is what I want to do no matter what, because just in case, because there is a 1 in a million chance that they're out there. So that's the case of the West boys that are missing from Cal City. The case has been handed over to the Bakersfield City Police Department. There's a lot of questions about that as well. Logistically, we believe that it just makes sense that the biological family is in Bakersfield. So if they need to be interviewed, they're here. The adopted family is now located in Bakersfield as they don't feel safe to return to their Cal City home. So they're now in Bakersfield. So every time they need to be interviewed, they're there. The other 4 children have been placed into foster care at this time, and there will be court for them to deal with in order to regain custody of those children. But they're in Bakersfield, so if they need to be interviewed, it's just made a lot more sense. Bakersfield Police Department is a lot bigger, has a lot more resources, and the Cal City Department is just very small. So resource-wise, it made sense for California City Police Department to transfer it to the Bakersfield City Police Department. There are a lot of people, though, that believe that they are moving it here because they believe that the crime might have taken place here. And I think we're all kind of leaning to that. There's just something is uncomfortable about this. It just didn't seem like that 6 kids got into the van to go to grandma's house on the 16th. It doesn't seem that anyone had seen the little boys. There's no pit. It's just something feels weird that they might have never moved to Cal City. And so maybe they do believe that a crime happened in Bakersfield. They have already searched their prior homes in Bakersfield. They have already searched some fields near where they used to live. They've already searched some common areas that we would know to search in Bakersfield. So those areas have been covered and nothing has been found. It's concerning. Whatever, if they did something with the boys, they've hid it, and it's been very difficult to figure out what they did, but police will continue to do it. They have searched their vehicles, they have searched their phones, they're continuing to search their families and go through every bit of information that they possibly can. The last thing to say, oh, by the way, this question was asked in regards to the biological fathers. It does appear that they are 2 separate men and that these 2 separate men do wish to remain anonymous. They had participated in the adoption and they are no longer the parents. They have given up their rights as parents of these children in the past. So they're just remaining anonymous and they haven't made a public statement. It does appear, though, obviously, they're very concerned about the welfare of the children. The police department has said that Jacqueline and Trezell West do continue to be completely cooperative with the investigation with police. I don't know, guys. Their interview makes me so uncomfortable. The story makes me uncomfortable. The neighbors, even if it's completely grainy and hard to see, video makes me uncomfortable. The lack of sighting of the children makes me uncomfortable. The lack of anything being done since. The biological family is raising money, donating money. There is a slew of people that are putting up posters, putting up billboards, running these Facebook groups and doing everything they can to find these children. But these people who claim to love them, are doing nothing. The question of money did come in. So it appears that, yes, they receive a good amount of money monthly for these children, leaving the question to a lot of people of why in the world
if they had just bought that house in Cal City, why would they risk their money? God, I hate saying it that way, but seriously, that's their income with these two children to pay for their living. They don't work. I don't know if they had little side hustles or anything like that, but they lived according to documents that people have talked to and interviews that have been done, and I'll link everything for you guys down below. They needed that income. So just why? Was it because of that one damn word he used when Trezell explained Orrin and Orson as rambunctious? I was like, wow, that's the best you got to say about your kid who's missing? Is rambunctious? So it made a lot of people uncomfortable. All right, that is the story I have for you guys on what is going on in California City, California. If you have any information about Orrin and Orson West, please reach out to the Bakersfield City Police Department, and I will link all of that information for you guys down below. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here with me. You guys know how much I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Notice my background. I look under like you guys are going to be able to see. I'm still trying to finish this spackle. Yeah, it left a nightmare on the wall. Anyways, so I'm going to finish it up soon. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I say this at the end of every one of my videos. Hug your babies and hug your loves. Life is literally precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. Do not take anything for granted. I love you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.